Right. Speaking of honors, our next guest has achieved many. This is the third time I've had the pleasure of being part of this event, and I just marvel at the wonderful job that Project Harmony, together with Mike Klug, has done over the years to get and find really outstanding and very special, unique, talented young people. And tonight is no different. I first heard our first guest in a public conversation with fellow composer Jackson Berkey at the Omaha Conservatory of Music, the old one, where he has studied for many years. He performed a piece that he had written called Attack of the Jabberwock at the piano, and he spoke passionately about music, and he even sent me a drawing of the creature he had written about. Well, I've done the math, and I think he was about 7 at that time. Since then, his age has doubled, and you can do the math. It's such a beautiful thing to see growth, and this young man has grown in marvelous ways and has achieved a lot along the way. Winston Schneider began composing at age 5, and early on, with his perfect pitch ability, he was able to play pieces in any key, sometimes simultaneously playing each hand in a different key. He was selected internationally as a MATA junior composer, and the New Yorker magazine calls that the most exciting showcase for outstanding young composers in the world. He was the youngest composer ever to be included in the prestigious Curtis Institute of Music summer program, and he received the ASCAP Morton Gould Young Composer Award, a competition for composers up to the age of 30. He'll make his debut on NPR's From the Top in 2023. And 3 weeks ago on this same stage, Winston Schneider had his Omaha Symphony Masterworks debut and received standing ovations both nights. His works have been performed by orchestras across the country, including in New York City, Brooklyn, Dallas, Cleveland, and Philadelphia. Not bad. He's agreed to talk with us tonight before the world premiere that we were going to be introducing shortly. So with no further delay, please welcome Winston Schneider. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You feeling good tonight?
I am.
You know, I really love the title of your new piece, and the way you worked in the title of this organization into your composition, but in a very composerly way. It was really clever of you, I think.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I always enjoy doing little clever things like that in my pieces.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah. Speaking of clever things, you said something. You said music, like insects, can be found anywhere. Right? Is that what you meant? Tell us what you meant by that.
Yeah, so ever since I was little, I've always, and I still do now, but I've always enjoyed catching, studying, and releasing insects and other crawling arthropods. And they've also served as an inspiration for a decent chunk of my music as well. When I was 5, the second piece I ever wrote was entitled A Cicada Named Fada. And the most recent piece I'm working on is entitled Arachnida, and each of its 6 movements represents a different order of arachnid.
I've always loved the fact that people who are interested in creativity and interested in the arts have many interests, and you're no different, and that's fascinating. And I don't even know what you just said, but it sounded really fascinating, right? Okay, so now, speaking of where ideas come from, where did your idea for tonight's composition come from?
You bet. So in this piece, you're going to hear 2 main themes. The first is a melodic line that you'll hear in the first entrance of the clarinet in the piece. And the second main theme is actually a slowed down version of the harp tremblings that you hear at the very beginning of the piece. Spoiler alert, by the way. But you'll hear it most prominently toward the middle of the piece, And to me, at least, and I hope you can hear this too, it sounds to me like the ticking of a clock. And it reminds us all that time is of utmost importance when we're talking about providing children in need with the help that they need.
I want to ask you one more question before we bring out the musicians from the Omaha Symphony. What led you to this particular combination of instruments?
Well, I hadn't composed for it before, so it sounded interesting.
Okay, so it was new.
Yes, I hadn't. It's a rather unusual combination of instruments,
Yes, it is.
And I wanted to try it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, lots of color. We actually had to go all the way over to UNO to find a marimba that we could use, and that's a wonderful instrument, and harp, of course, and you have some great players that are working on your piece and will perform it here tonight. Why don't I let you go, and while you're heading back to your seat so that you can hear this world premiere, I will introduce our performers.
you bet.
Thank you so much for coming out and talking with us. Yeah, Winston Schneider. I don't know if you guys know that show from the Top on NPR. It's a wonderful show. And Winston, you're going to do great on that show. So now it's time to welcome 5 members of the Omaha Symphony. Rico Amador on violins, Tim Strang on cello, Carmelo Galante, clarinet, Rob O'Brien, percussion, and Katie Wychulis, harp. And they are here to play Winston Schneider's Harmonious Projection here on the stage here tonight. Please welcome them. Wasn't that great? So lovely. Music is so amazing. You just never know. And so amazing for someone so young to write that music, which is very sophisticated and very beautiful and very thoughtful and very thought out, and also to be able to explain it so wonderfully. That's really a gift. I'm going back over here.